And then I would love to introduce our first panel. We have three of the biggest heavy hitters in media publishing that are joining us. We have Jessica Sibley, who is the CEO of Time, one of the oldest publishing brands in America. Hi, Jess. Will Lee, who's the CEO of Adweek. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this is Will's Super Bowl. And then we have Jim Bankoff, who is the CEO of Vox Media. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Vox Media, Vox is the parent to every consumer brand that you probably use every single day. So if you think about SB Nation, if you think about New York Magazine, or Grub Street, or The Verge, or Vox.com, Eater, Jim is everybody's boss. All right, so Joe teed us up really nicely to talk about AI, and all three of these publishers know more about AI and the media landscape than anyone else. Let me start with you, Jess. Time has been very, very aggressive in pursuing opportunities around AI. You have a deal with OpenAI. You have put your own chatbot on some of your stories. The Taylor Swift Person of the Year story had its own sort of AI navigation. So you seem pretty bullish. Do you have any concerns, though, that if we don't get these partnerships right, can move back into a world of like social media where publishers were taken advantage of?
Well, Axios and Sara, thank you for having me, and you are also a heavy hitter, so congratulations to what you guys have done, seriously crushing it. You introduced me as old.
Time as old, Jess, not you.
And you're right, yes, leading a 100-plus-year-old media brand, and we can't lose that, and we have to stay relevant. And so I think it's a great place to start with what is the biggest concern that is for us, of having another 100 years of what is so special about time and is so important in terms of journalism. And yes, I'll just say quickly, because I want to hear just as much from the other panelists, but I think inning one for us was, we had a guiding principle with AI. Are we going to litigate, negotiate, or do nothing? We quickly moved through that stage. We decided we were going to negotiate. Kind of feel like we're in inning two now of our AI journey, which is three sort of other new guiding principles. The first is infrastructure, which is really protecting our IP, not just what we do every day, but our 100 years of archives, our photojournalism, our text journalism, and how do we track that? How do we measure that? How do we verify that from scrape or steal? Second is content and distribution. So how do we create partnerships? You mentioned a few. And then third is monetization. So how do we, and what we've done for 100 years as Time Magazine is be able to innovate as a business and as a brand in what it was search ecosystem, now AI-driven ecosystem. So how do we monetize that? And then lastly, so that's Time AI. We launched a lot of innovative programs with Scale AI, and then we also need to upskill ourselves, leading with me and the entire organization. So AI at Time is sort of the second initiative that we've launched to make sure that we're using all of our partners and getting the best that we can to know. I don't really know where this is going. You can't predict the future, says Sam Altman. So that's where we're at.
So you guys are doing a lot. Jim, Vox Media has also really leaned in heavily. You have a deal with OpenAI, but there's always a pressure and a tension sometimes between pushing the organization to explore something that you know is the future, but also getting employees excited about it and not feeling threatened about it. You guys have a union, other companies have unions, and this has been a tension sometimes. How are you getting your employees excited about it and not scared about it?
First of all, thank you to Sara and Joe and everyone else. It's great to be here and just look over there. It's gorgeous. I'm trying to look here though. Look at the camera. Look at the camera. It's right. You have to. Let's just state some of the obvious, which is people are concerned about their future. Understandably, I get it. Not just in our industry, in every industry. Yet at the same time, those very same people, you mentioned our union, for instance, we just signed we kind of continued our CBA, it was all good, but one of the things that came up was was the use of AI. And, ultimately what we said and what we agreed to was like, we just don't know where this is going. So we want to treat our people well. So we will treat our people well. But the same people are using AI products in their personal life, and they're very smart people, and they understand that there's opportunity in addition to threat. So I think Jess articulated really well. Like for us, it's about productivity. It's about helping the consumer experience, not through like content creation, not by you having AI voices of our podcasters or things like that. We're not like trying to directly replace the creation process. What we are trying to do though is create a better audience experience by helping with discovery. So for instance, Eater in our app is getting better and better about surfacing the amazing human Eater content by making it just easier to navigate. So I'm looking for a table for 4 in this neighborhood. My son has a nut allergy. We like fish. And all of a sudden, all the great stuff that the humans made is more accessible and more utility for that. Another example is with The Strategist. My 12-year-old niece loves soccer. It's her birthday. What should I get her? You can do those searches in other places, but if you know and love The Strategist, which is our shopping brand, you will have their tone, their opinion on those things. And if we do a good job, technology has facilitated that. And then I can go on and on about how we're making the advertiser experience better as well. Of course, we're doing, kind of the analytics and all the other things that you can use AI for. But, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because I guarantee I would have 100% participation on who is using AI in their lives. It's all of us, and it's everyone, including people who may, be threatened. Like our industry gets a lot of attention, a lot of focus. It should. There are other industries that, there's true, decimation. I think I saw it, maybe it was in Axios, I don't recall, but Angie Jassy saying that this is a real thing and it is happening, and people, particularly in the coding industries, et cetera, are going to have to ride with the change, and there will be displacement because of that. So we're not trying to be naive, but our job right now is to create great experiences that hopefully create more opportunity.
Will, where you sit, Adweek is the authority on all things advertising. Publishers obviously make most of their money on advertising. The concern right now in publishing space, and this has been the big conversation at Cannes, has been so many publishers get advertising revenue from search traffic. And if we are moving into a world where we don't have traditional clickable search, we are just doing AI chatbots, they're not going to get that traffic, and their businesses will implode. And so now everyone's trying to do subscriptions and events and other things. My question to you is this as existential as people are making it sound?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think, when you see Google referrals go down 30% in a matter of a couple months or 2 or 3 months, that's going to hurt a lot. I think, I'd like to think Adweek in our sort of narrow niche way does have a beachhead, right? That can drive subs, membership, community, events, all the things that are more AI proof than trying to monetize 50 cent CPM banner ads against microwaved content, right? That's not good. I mean, I think the fortunate thing for the three of us is that the brands that we represent actually have real fidelity are very high fidelity brands with the consumer. So therefore, when you want to know something, I'm going to go to Eater. I'm not going to put where should I go, to get, Northern Italian in the West Village of Manhattan into ChatGPT. Then answers are going to suck. I'm just going to go straight to Eater app because I know I'm going to get a much better curated experience. Or if I want to know about geopolitical climate, the things that Time is so good at, I'm going to go there. And then for Adweek, it's we're going to have more information. I'll just use the example. We sort of soft launch an AI agent this week on the site, and you ask it, where should I go to the bathroom in Cannes, right? It's all Cannes focused. We just said it's going to be about the information in our corpus about Cannes. So it's where should I go to the bathroom in Cannes? I'm at this address. And it'll give you a good result. So, fortunately, I have a chief of staff who's sitting here, Mike Bayman, who has a very high processing GPU in his head to think about all these things. And so we've been pretty aggressive about trying to use it as a tool. I'd say the other thing from our perspective, from a journalistic perspective, is there's a lot of data in what we do, right? We are sort of in the business of, if you think about our model, it's like there's a lot of movement in this industry. It's like people moving, marketers moving, agencies moving, accounts moving. And there's a lot of our monetization is about monetizing movement, right? And so if you think about that, then the parsing of the data and the structuring of the data that comes out of all that movement, whether it's money or it's people, that stuff is just so much faster when you apply AI to it. And we're already doing that in a lot of ways to just get better information that people can use, right, every day. So that's kind of how we look at sort of, it's not playing defense. It's really just like building the thing that can't be replaced by another chatbot.
Quick follow-up to that, Will. During the social media era, the feedback and that we all realized in hindsight was that the deals that we had struck actually were not constructive to helping the publisher businesses. If you think about instant articles on Facebook or some of these Google, news carousels, are you concerned that the current set of deals that publishers are striking with AI companies, we will one day look back and say, man, we did not negotiate strong enough?
I mean, these guys will have a much better opinion because we're just not big enough to matter to them. They're like, yeah, sure, fine, we'll make a deal with you for like 10 cents, right? So great, good luck. Will we look back? I mean, I think the hindsight, the history of the last 20 years of digital media is that, yeah, everything that we did, we look back on and say like, why the fuck did we, like why? Why did we do that, right? And like, why did we agree to do instant articles? And if you guys remember mid-roll in Facebook videos, like that, we thought that was a good idea to create videos that were like, we had to stop them at 25 seconds and put a 15-second mid-roll. And so it's like, yeah, of course, we're going to look back. Now, fortunately, you have people like, Mark and Jess and Jim who are like, have seen it, right? And they live through it, and they live through the pain of having to suck up to Facebook every 2 years, right, in some way, and like
move fast and break other people's business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you just think about the power that these like sort of mid-level, and no offense to anybody in the room who does or did this job, these mid-level partner managers at Facebook or Google that just sucked up to all at the YouTube, like, oh man, would you please promote me a little bit more, or like, oh, can you tell me when the next algo tweak is going to come? It's like, I don't want to live like that, right? So I don't think we may be beholden to it, but it's hopefully we've learned from that.
Wait, so I have so many thoughts. Jess, your deal, like the deals that you're striking, how do you feel confident that you're not going to put yourself in that position? Is it because they include real-time like content capture? Is it because you own the outputs? Like, how do you know that you're not going to be putting your company in that position?
Well, we take a bigger view than just a financial view of the deals, and we are owned by Mark and Lynn Benioff. Mark Benioff, the day ChatGPT launched, texted me and Sam Altman and said, "Get on the phone and talk about this." And are we on the record here?
Yeah, it's being video recorded.
I should know that.
But just say whatever's on your mind.
Just forget.
And it was not a fair first offer. And it was so early, and we had a level of trust, familiarity, and we did do a partnership deal, but it's given us so much more than just a way to support what we do as a journalistic entity. We are actually leveraging these partnerships to work directly and have a seat at the table with those that are leading this, driving this, and building it so that we're part of the ecosystem versus not. And so my whole career has been at trusted legacy media brands that needed all of what I call the recalibration, reinvigoration, resuscitation, and having lived that journey only, I've lived through all of this from digital transformation, mobile, social, and now AI, and time has been pretty successful at that. So we get to have a seat at the table, we get to learn. We're not going to get everything right. We know that. We're going to look back and we're going to say that we won, we lost, we failed, but we want to be in the game and be a part of it.
That is what I think is motivating a lot of media companies right now, is they don't want to fall behind if they don't make a deal. Jim, is there a way, though, that media companies, because you have deals with some companies but not others, is there a way that media companies can stay ahead without doing a deal?
Probably, yes. But none of us really know these answers. In looking back, I concur with everything. I wouldn't, even instant articles, which yes, disaster, but better to have loved instant articles than never loved at all. And the same thing, I think the key is just knowing that nothing is going to remain static. I guess we're a first order derivative of the changes that happen in technology. So these, companies are technology companies, and they make the change. And then the problem for us is that we often have to kind of react to the change. In fairness to them, they're not up at night thinking about us, they're thinking about their customers, and so we often get the collateral damage of that. It's often not with ill intent, it's just with we're not in their head, they don't care. And so you just have to understand that and look out for yourself, and to ignore these things wholesale has likely, in my opinion, I'd say certainly more peril than not ignoring them. So that doesn't mean that you leap naively into every deal. And I agree with you. Those of us who have been around the block understand some of the pitfalls. Although every new opportunity has new risks, most of which are not foreseeable. So the key is not to over leverage yourself, to not do your best not to be undervalued in the relationship. Try to play offense. Vox Media, and I think all of our companies are companies that kind of run to technological opportunity as opposed to run away from it. That's how we've built our company from the very beginning. And I think you likely have to have that mindset to thrive, let alone survive. So
I think the question is if you're in 2025, if the brand of your media business doesn't have a super clear point of differentiation, I think you're really screwed. That's his brand's time. And I look at something that actually we were sort of weirdly involved in together. I was one of the first editorial employees at TMZ, right? And Jim started TMZ at AOL. And TMZ has persisted through all of this because they do something that nobody else does. They win, celebrity scoops, right?
Harvey Levin
specifically wins the scoops, right? Exactly. The last place I was at before Adweek, NPR, despite all the challenges, and yeah, we all know about what's going on right now, but NPR has persisted for almost 50 years because it does something that nobody else does, right? It delivers great information for curious Americans. So I think but if, that's how many of those brands are there in our business? And I think the opportunity for us and for some of the people in this room is to really reinforce that. And actually, weirdly, especially with my company, we are a company that writes is all about brand marketing. We do none of it for ourselves. None of it, right? We're just we have always relied upon we're on Facebook, we're on, we'll show up in Google, we'll do Instagram. It's our LinkedIn. We don't do any brand marketing, right? And so when we reinforce that with our core audience, right? We're not a consumer publication, but to reinforce that is going to help a lot.
Okay, so we have just a minute, but I have a quick future of question for each of you. I'm going to start with Jess. Give me the quick future of time, and I ask this because there have been reports that your owners want to sell the company. You have told me no, we are here to stay. The Benioffs are invested in us. What should we expect?
Well, I'll say don't let AI happen to you. Let AI happen for you. And we have doubled down on what we call capital J journalism. AI cannot replace that. We've had more on the record time with President Trump than any other media company in the world. We got the only interview with Taylor Swift. We got the David Ricks Lilly story, market moving story in the GLP-1 weight loss pill version. I could go on and spend the next 20 minutes just talking about who's on our cover, digital, print, both, who we write for, who we write about. What AI can do for us is translate that in any language in real time, summarize that. We are now launching an audio brief, so based on a brief newsletter, one of our most well-read, our stories, you can get a 5-minute version, audio, 10-minute version. We can create a version, we have time for kids, that's a 3rd grade version of a topic. So think about that. The world belongs to time, and I travel the world for time, and people tell me all over the world how time has been a part of their lives. They've read time, they've learned how to read English, write, storytell, you name it. Imagine with AI, we can deliver time in so many different formats in a very personalized, personal way. Our owners are very supportive. Mark and Lynn Benioff, our co-founders, co-owners, they're very supportive of me as CEO and of the team, and they're really proud of what we're doing.
That is incredible that people learn to read from time. Like, that shows you how much brand equity
We
that
were
people
in
have.
embassies. I mean, the stories, I'm going to write a book because everyone has a time story, and they love sharing them with me.
That is really good. Okay, Will, I want a future of story question for you.
Yeah.
Everyone here is sipping rosé, like the economy in the U.S. might not teeter on a recession. What is the reality in terms of the health of the ad
You're saying they would have
market?
like bourbon if they thought that.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. What's the
Darker
true health of
fluids.
the ad market? Should we be stressed?
I think the thing to stress about is the uncertainty, right? I think the think about the last year. Think about the wavelength and amplitude of everything that you see. You know, there's one conversation that Jerome Powell comes out, Trump says one thing, all of a sudden, boom. So like, I think the hardest thing is the uncertainty, and I'd say that it's, again, that's why, like, sort of in our thesis for Adweek, like it's investment grade journalism, inspiration from events and convenings, and information to help people do their jobs better. That's the front end. The back end is all data, right? It's got to have data of your own that you can act on, you can build your own models on, and that's, I think, if you do that, then you're I wouldn't say you're recession proof, but you're certainly better equipped to see it happen.
And then Jim, want to get your take. Jim is a unicorn in media because if you take a look at all these companies that raised a lot of money, they've all subsequently, had to split up or they've sold out or whatever. Like, Jim has been a survivor with a massive, massive portfolio. What comes next?
I love the re's thing. I'm going to steal that from you, re, because like our ability to reinvent is like what has contributed to our ability. And the reinvention that's happening right now, you kind of quickly mentioned some things, but it does start also with the journalism as well, although, in our case, we do a lot of lifestyle things as well, so we have a big sports property. But New York Magazine is really defining culture for people, and just as Time is doing all that great work. In our case, we are known for everything from spotting trends in moving culture, Nepo babies, West Village girls, I think.
Believe me, thank you.
These are the things that New York Magazine does uniquely well, and I can point to things across our properties that The Verge is doing. But the growth area for us, in addition to the subscriptions that come off of those properties, and going really well in terms of double-digit subscription growth. But the other thing for us is our podcast network, and the word podcast now means video more than it means audio. It means social. We're here in Cannes with a lot of our kind of partner creators, Kara Swisher, Scott Galloway. We just signed a renewal with them, so I get the privilege of working with them for a long time ahead of. But whether it's them, Sue Bird, Megan Rapinoe, Andy Roddick, Esther Perel, Nilay Patel, Marquez Brownlee, the list goes on, and we are like really building what I think is, in a sense, like the TV network of the future. There's no perfect analogy because it doesn't exist right now, and like have a lot of momentum there. And so you combine that work with the iconic brands that we're doing in the quote unquote publishing space, and the opportunity that comes around that to like create a strong consumer journey, to create a lot of value for our marketing partners, to create subscription consumer revenue, and to do it on platform. Yes, I will, like, search is going down, I agree. And so it puts, but like you, like Jess, like it puts, we can't be, we have to be aggressive about finding other surfaces to program onto. First and foremost, direct. Newsletters, everyone's talking about that, like outstanding growth in newsletters for us, an opportunity both paid and free. But other surfaces too, like we're experimenting with a lot of things and we're hoping to grow a lot of things. And as like, those search surfaces start to dwindle, audiences are going to be going other places too. So.
Everyone's got a lot of work ahead of them for this year. It's a busy time, but just to quickly wrap some of the things that we talked about today, Jess said that when the AI era came, they could litigate, negotiate, or do nothing, and I think you guys have really focused on negotiating and taking action. Your 3 core principles are your infrastructure, content, and distribution, and monetization. I think most publishers would agree that those are the 3 core things to think about. Jim was talking a lot about, when it comes to AI, how to think about it in terms of productivity, not replacing the work of journalists, but just making the company and journalism more productive, especially when it comes to discovery. I love what you said about finding a way to get a restaurant for a family with a nut allergy that wants fish. It's a much more efficient journey to go to Eater directly and use that AI than it would be to go through ChatGPT. Will, when I asked him, is the Google search traffic collapse an existential crisis? You said yes, but you seem optimistic that folks with high fidelity brands will be able to survive it, and I agree with that. The big theme of today, Jim said nothing remains static, which is very true, which is why we all come here and drink rosé and try to figure it out, because it's really stressful. And then I think Jess's quote of the day just really, really stood out to me, which is, you don't want to let AI happen to you. You want to make AI work for you. She stressed big J journalism. And by the way, congrats to you on having the more time with President Trump than any other outlet, and Taylor Swift. That is pretty great. Thank you, everyone here. Thanks to Dave Levy and the folks at OpenAP and Joe. We have a quick segment, and then I'm going to be back up again to talk with one more big heavy hitter in AI and tech. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Excellent.